Greetings, comrades! Today we have a breaking news episode. Russia has a new arch-enemy, a new threat to the very existence of the country. Ukraine? Insignificant. NATO? Forgotten. Global warming? Please. Even those tiny little rainbow extremist beings who threaten our traditional values are no longer as much of a concern to our society. The fact is that there is a horde of unknown creatures coming at the country, and if we don't deal them a major decisive blow right now, they will overwhelm you and me and literally crush us into powder. Who are they? Well, kids in cat and dog masks, of course. You think I'm exaggerating? The fact is that right now every news channel is running a story about a dangerous new subculture that is threatening our children and should be banned immediately. In fact, there hasn't been a single year in the last 10 years when our children haven't had a new mortal enemy. Blue Whale Game, oh yeah, extremist organization, anime, you know who, extremist organization, other you know who, extremist terrorist and his organization too, Instagram, owned by extremist organization, and I definitely forgot someone else. And all this was brought upon us from the decadent West to destabilize the very foundations of the Russian society. And what did those damned Westerners come up with now? Quadrobing, of course. Oh yes, everything changed constantly in our country, so just in case I will leave a disclaimer in advance that by the time the video is released, the movement may already be recognized as extremist, terrorist, forbidden or something else. If you are unfamiliar with the concept and look at these quadrobists or quadrobers in Russian, you might think they are some sort of furry midgets. What they do have in common is a love for some of the attributes of our four-legged friends. Quadrobists, unlike furries, do not endow animals with human qualities. They simply imitate animals and copy their movements and habits. Quadrobers use masks and false tails and move around on all fours. They can pretend to be cats, dogs, foxes, wolves and other animals they like. The movement itself in Russia is called quadrobing or quadrobics. The name comes from the Latin quator, four, and the English aerobics. Quadrobers themselves believe that this is a special kind of modern sport, something like parkour. And it's quite difficult. Go try and run on all fours and jump over barriers, let's see how you manage. By the way, there are also Therians, who should not be confused with quadrobists. They kind of identify as non-human animals and believe that they originally had an animal soul that reincarnated into a human body. So, where did all this come from? In fact, there are several versions, but most of them credit the Japanese Kenichi Ito or Monkey Man as the creator. One day he saw a Petar's monkey running at breakneck speed and got the idea to learn to move just as fast. We are also descended from monkeys, he thought, so why not move like them? He learned and adapted the monkey's technique and then began practicing running on all fours in a stadium. In 2015 he became a Guinness Book of World Records record holder, running 100 meters in 15.71 seconds. Admittedly, he did it all in a regular tracksuit, no monkey tail and other stuff. So how did we go from a strange hobby of a random Japanese man to an existential threat to Russian children? A threat so severe that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov begins his meeting with the Armenian Foreign Minister with a discussion of it. Among Russian teenagers, quadrobics became popular in the spring of 2024. Videos of children dressed and behaving like animals began to go viral on social networks. They walk and jump on all fours, growl and sometimes bite and lunge at people. This trend was mostly picked up by children under 12-13 years old, who found it entertaining. Obviously, most of them saw this trend as a game, not a sport. Imagine a typical RPG. You create a character, choose a class, cat, dog or wolf. Buy yourself an epic +10 charisma mask and +5 to speed gloves, and run to the park to show off in front of lower-leveled co-players. And the mask can be crafted by yourself, even customized. Only in real life, not on the computer screen. Awesome! On the one hand, theoretically, quadrobics can be considered a new age subculture, like emo and goth in the time of youth of parents of the current generation of teenagers. Subculture gives an opportunity to search for yourself, a sense of belonging to something bigger, which is very important for teenage consciousness. It is logical that quadrobics has gained popularity. It gives an opportunity to stand out among peers, to find new like-minded people, to become famous in their circle for your achievements, to be recognized. But on the other hand, it can rather be called a social media trend, which is unlikely to survive the test of time. Public opinion on the trend is divided. Some consider quadrobics an innocent children's hobby that comes and goes like any other, while others see it as dangerous. There are fears of injuries, the danger of excessive fascination with their animal essence, which can lead to aggressive behavior of children quadrobics and, for example, their attacks on ordinary children. For a long time, the Russian authorities had a neutral attitude to quadrobics, and even the great and terrible head of the Safe Internet League Ekaterina Mizulina for a long time claimed that she did not see anything terrible in the hobby of children. Let them gallop. But at the end of the summer, the situation changed dramatically, all because of an absolutely paradoxical case. So, what do you think might have happened that caused the authorities to suddenly turn on quadrobics? Did someone beat someone up or bite someone? Maybe someone powerful found out that their kid became a quadrober and they didn't like it? No. It all started at a concert of popular blogger and singer Mia Boyka. Her audience consists of middle and primary school age children, and one of the attendees at the concert got lost and couldn't find her parents. The organizers brought her on stage and asked the singer to make an announcement that the child was lost. The child, as you guessed it, was wearing a cat mask and other quadrobing attributes. Mia Boyka asked the girl, "Are you a kitty or, heaven forbid, a quadrober?" and then proceeded to publicly reprimand the child in front of a crowd of thousands for such a wrong hobby. Naturally, this behavior of the singer caused a huge public outcry. Almost everyone demanded that the singer apologize to the kid, from colleagues to public figures, businessmen, and even the same Ekaterina Mizulina. But Mia Boyka did not bend to the demands of the public. She doubled down and rolled out a huge Telegram post in which she claimed that quadrobers, as well as other concepts absolutely alien to our society, came to us from the West, where the violation of accepted norms has long been a trend. Today she considers herself a cat, and tomorrow she will want to change sex. And what then? Will we have parent 1 and parent 2 in Russia instead of mom and dad? I don't know who wrote her speech, but he is either a genius or very well immersed in the inner workings of Russian politics. Because with her words about parent 1 and parent 2, Mia Boyka hit exactly the right spot. The fact is that these are the very phrases that Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin uses very often in his speeches about the decline of Western society and the attacks on our traditional values. Officials of all ranks had the familiar narratives, recognized the well-known keywords, and their conditioned reflexes kicked in. Wait a minute. An attack on our values? Immediately ban it. Therefore, already in September 2024, quadrobers have jumped to the first place in the list of threats to Russia. In fact, Mia Boyka has successfully saved her career. If not for this speech, right now she would be apologizing in her social networks, like the organizer of the famous naked party Nastya Ivleva did earlier. Her concerts would be cancelled en masse, and the affected girl would be shown on every TV channel. But Mia escaped the bullying by provoking a larger counter-bullying, in fact, counter-bullying of children. So, who has already commented on the dangers of quadrobers? Here we go. Back in spring, Irina Volynets, ombudsman for children's rights in Tatarstan, said that she sees quadrobics as dehumanization, removal of boundaries and moral frameworks, and this subculture is led by malicious people, negatively influencing teenagers. In July, Deputy Tatiana Butskaya made a statement in the State Duma that Satanism lurks behind these subcultures, quadrobics, furry and therianthropy, and they urgently need to be banned. The Russian Orthodox Church did not stand aside either and called the quadrobics propaganda for a return to barbarism.
Должны мы проходить мимо вот этих вот квадроберов и их родителей, а пристыдить эту маму, эту бабушку, что же вы творите?
In the fall, the situation got completely out of control. On September 11th, Natalia Kosikhina, a representative of the Yaroslav region in the Federation Council, made an official proposal to ban the quadrobis subculture because it goes beyond the norms of society and therefore can be dangerous to others. In the State Duma, a bill on banning propaganda of destructive ideology, including quadrobing, has been drafted. And Deputy Sergei Kolunov suggested that parents whose children are into quadrobing should be deprived of parental rights or prosecuted, up to and including criminal prosecution. The proposal was supported by Senator Alexei Pushkov, head of the Federation Council Commission on Information Policy. He said that cat people, dog people and other animals of this kind, let them walk around San Francisco and New York, not here. Parliamentarians also noted that teenage quadrobers do not just walk on all fours and bark, but scare people around them by pouncing on them and biting them. Along with this, news articles about quadrobers on the street began to appear in the media. For example, in Omsk, a woman walked a quadrober child on a leash together with her dog. In Krasnodar, a quadrober girl beat a younger girl on the playground. Finally, in Serpukhov, a local resident brought her 12-year-old quadrober daughter to the vet for vaccination and chipping. The vet refused to do this. Ukraine is not lagging behind. In Odessa, teenage quadrobers attacked a babushka and her dog and beat them both. Finally, participants of the Veterans of Russia movement appealed to the Prosecutor General's office with a request to recognize this movement as destructive and ban it on the territory of the Russian Federation. And at the same time to ban the sale of goods related to quadrobics. By the way, Forbes wrote that in the summer of 2024 in Russia sales of gloves, masks and tails which are used by quadrobers increased 12-fold. There are, however, more sensible people in the State Duma. Svetlana Bessarab, a member of the State Duma Committee on Labor, Social Policy and Veteran Affairs, criticized the proposed law, noting that it is impossible to prescribe a ban on drinking from a dog bowl in the law, but walking children on leashes and bringing them to veterinarians fit the wording improper parenting, which is already in the law. Against this background, the stances of the same Mizulin and Vitaly Milonov, who are generally the main prohibitors of everything among Russian public officials, are kinda surprising. In fact, Milonov even suggested leaving children alone, and in 6 months this hobby will be forgotten. Surprisingly adequate for a man who suggested banning sodas, migrant sleep augmentation, Turkish TV series, mayonnaise and kebabs, and movies about happy bachelors. In fact, the story is really not worth a penny. For centuries, adults have been frustrated with the hobbies that teenagers chose. Printed books, fancy dancing, movies, television, new music, subcultures, breakdancing, parkour, anime, and of course, computer games. The list goes on forever. Older people just automatically think that their hobbies were better, more interesting, more useful and more worthy than what kids do now. I'll be honest, as a millennial, I don't understand youth activities anymore either, but just because I don't understand something doesn't mean it should automatically be banned. Does it look cringy? Oh yes. But cringe is not banned yet. Can quadrobics be good for you? Well, probably, if instead of staring endlessly at his tablet, a child goes outside and spends time with his friends, then yes. Could there be harm, like from injuries? Probably. Quadrobics can be dangerous if a child practices in potentially dangerous company or in dangerous places, abandoned buildings, construction sites, and so on. Professional psychologists and psychiatrists have also not yet decided how deep immersion in the image of an animal affects children's psyche. They probably need some long-term studies for this. But deputies in Russia, as usual, have figured it out faster and better than anyone else. Ban it and that's the end of it. Just don't remind them of their own childhood in Soviet kindergartens, where on every holiday all boys were dressed as bunnies and girls as foxes and kittens. Otherwise it would be awkward. Thanks for watching, and as always, a huge shout out to my biggest supporters: Yelizaveta Zakharova, Kirill, Klimuk, Böse, Jimmy, Albin, Petar, Ilic, Bruce, Eternick and MHS. See you guys next time.